Hello, everybody, and today I wanted to kind of go back over how the mind interacts with the body. We've done how the um, emotions interact with the mind, and we've done how the body interacts with the emotions, and I think it's important that we now go from the mind and to the body. So, what's very interesting about this kind of team, if you want to call it something, is that the mind compels the body to do actions, right? So the mind is always telling the body what to do, and then the body does it. And it would seem like this is the appropriate way for it to function. However, the mind also has to contend with what the emotions are telling it to do, and thus may not always have the appropriate solution to the physical problem, if you want to call it something. And in this way, the body, who is absolutely bound to the reality of the world that we live in, has its exact truth told by what it expresses. So, although the mind might say, hey, you know what? We've had a stressful day, so we should just have some junk food, and that'd be great because that'll make us feel better. Again, this is a short-sighted way of thinking. The mind is actually trying to say, hey, we feel emotionally exhausted. Let's deal with this emotional thing. But then it also recognizes, oh, this is a big emotional thing to deal with if we're already stressed out. So, what is something that is a lot easier to do? Let's have that junk food. So, we have the junk food. Again, this generally leads us to us eating more junk food because we haven't dealt with the actual emotion. That's something to think about. But ultimately, again, the body will start to show the truth of the matter. Is it good to have that much junk food? I don't know. Let's take a look. The body starts to gain weight, starts to hurt, starts to cramp up, starts to dehydrate, starts to cause pain and discomforts. This is essentially trying to bring you to the reality of the conclusion that your mind has come to. And if we were really good at it, we'd say, hey, this is a physical result of my way of thinking. How can I change my way of thinking to change the physical result? Uh, this is how it would work in kind of good communication. However, we like to protect ourselves from all things that look, feel, or sound like danger. And that is good in a sense, but not in a good when it becomes a kind of reactive thing. You start anticipating something going wrong, which means all future things will go wrong, and then we start to overuse a certain way of doing things, and when we do so, we incur a kind of cost. And this cost is always going to be somewhat taking away from our health because the idea is that our body doesn't want us to continue to use the exact same way of solving everything with the same solution. So, that being said, we have this kind of reality check that the body always gives us. We say that we're helpful and good to other people, and the body says, "Okay, you believe that? No, is that really true? Let's see." The body again starts to be nervous, starts to be anxious, starts to put on weight, starts to feel uncomfortable, essentially telling us that whatever we have defined as being caring and giving to others is actually just us sacrificing caring for ourselves, which could never be caring then. If you don't know how to care for yourself, how do you care for others? Then we realize that we are just putting on the mask of the actions that we've associated as a society to what we consider to be uh, helpful or caring. Now, this is very easily seen if we go to any other mm, place in the world where their social customs are different. You'll see that they don't do the customs that we do, but they might do different versions of caring and giving. And that might be strictly only providing things. That might be strictly only taking care of certain tasks in a house. And in this way, caring has shifted somehow, and the body then doesn't particularly care what culture it's in. It will have the result that it has based on what you're doing to it. And so we can say the universal language is essentially body language in the sense of the body will react to all negative things that are done to it. It might change the way it does that, but there are maybe kind of cohesive ways that the body will choose to express something. This being relevant to also physical pain, which we generally pay some attention to until the pain goes away. Then we realize that, hey, you know what, the pain's gone, so we shouldn't deal with it. And because we know mind, body, and emotion are all connected, the physical pain probably has to do a lot with a bigger issue itself, and we shouldn't just stop at the physical level. But that's besides the point for today. So we then take a look at the body in the physical way. My knee is hurting me. What is the body telling you? It's telling you that there is a mechanical demand that's far too great for the resources that it has to deal with that demand. This can be because of tightness, generally some kind of restriction of the muscle or joints or ligaments or these kind of things. Something is not operating correctly, therefore there is pain. We can say at one point it was operating correctly, so there was no pain. In this way, we know that there's something that we did, and the result of that doing caused this pain to happen. Now, the trick is we take so long to deal with that its exact way of the body restoring itself becomes blurred into many different things have happening. And this is generally why you can go to a professional and they will do their practice and way of fixing it. And if exactly the cause of that issue was specific to exactly that style of health, that practitioner will have large effectiveness with you. And this is why people swear by a chiropractor, nutritionist, a naturopath, a osteopath, or personal trainer, or any one of these things. They swear by them because that was their key to alleviating the majority of the strain. However, again, it is larger than that, but why can so many people claim that so many different things are so helpful for them? This is generally because that for them it was the key, and only partially of that key, so they swear by it. But all health practices are origin of helping people get more healthy. But then we might ask ourselves, healthy from what? What pressures are actually acting on the individual and that kind of thing? I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I have done a video on the prophetic system or cycle, whichever you want to call it, and that kind of goes more into that kind of stuff. Now, the last thing I think I want to say on the body working with the mind is, as we know, the body has feedback to the nervous system, and the nervous system has feedback to the body. The body can decide something different than essentially the nervous system, in a way, and then change what's supposed to happen. So we have the ability for two things to act against each other. Whenever two things act against each other, we can say that there's disharmony. If there's disharmony, we have to find out what is the step above that regulates that back to what its normal was. Its normal is always a kind of relaxed version of still being able to do the same thing, or doing the right thing, that thing that does not cost us a lot of health to do. Now, in stating that, I wanted just to point out that the mind has its solutions, the body has the reality or truth of whatever's happening. If we use the body correctly, in a way, we can see that there's something wrong with the mind. And when I say mind, I mean the conscious way that we're thinking about something, right? And ultimately, this will also be expressed externally to us if we have people that or we view life from a place that everybody's really negative. This is probably an emotional thing, dealing with the mind, and then changing our reaction to that environment. And if we strain, again, a coping mechanism, maybe overeating, or maybe over-exercising, or maybe being overly determined at something and not knowing when to kind of call it quits, then we might end up in a more physically challenging situation. And I mean, we can't blame each other for trying to kind of figure life out and make it work. But I think it's very important to know that we don't have all the answers. And the more that we think that we should have all the answers is proportionately the amount of stress that we heap on ourselves. And you can generally say the people that have the most kind of stress are the people that try to do it all by themselves or feel that they have all the answers. This is any kind of archetypical structure. This is the hero, has tons of responsibility, don't rely on anybody. He will meet his fate, essentially. The caregiver, yep, if they rely on nobody to care for them and don't realize the full definition of what caring is, which is for oneself, therefore giving to others by abundance, or having so much of caring for oneself that people just catch it from being around us. It's kind of that contagious thing. I want to take care of myself because this person takes such good care of themselves, and that's what I want to be like. If we don't kind of recognize those things, we end up in our challenges. So we do always want to know that life is a very large thing. This is the first time we're living it. And because of this reason, we have to be more receptive of the fact that all other humans are trying to live life and try to figure it out. And the more that we can be truthful with ourselves, the more that people can kind of resonate with truth, change themselves to be more truthful as well. And all these positive things kind of echo throughout our personal interaction with life and the people that we surround ourselves with, and to an extent, everybody from that same perspective. Hopefully, that gave you a little bit of a different perspective. Again, self care is the idea of bringing the things that we're not quite thinking about, but still suffering the consequences for, to light. So we want to bring more solutionary processing, I guess, to the mind, and therefore helping us deal with our challenges personally from a self care, or a way of taking care of self through actions in life, and make some very positive changes that way.